Hello everyone, my name is Monika and I'm a PhD student in geography at Trinity College in Dublin. My research is focused on sustainable transitions in food systems, a theme that I have been exploring over the last years through the practice of food sharing in Singapore. This presentation offers an overview of Singapore's context and discusses some ethnographic material from a study of shared food growing and surplus food redistribution initiatives. So Singapore is a relatively small city-state located at the tip of the Malaya Peninsula. Singapore gained independence from Federation of Malaysia in 1965. After becoming independent, Singapore's foremost national goals have been rapid economic development and a strong national identity, which were achieved through state investments in knowledge economy and technology, and stringent government regulations such as reduced freedom of collective action and control over the free press that have had consequences for citizens' participation in public matters and policy making. So food sharing in Singapore has been historically rooted in the pre-colonial past and considered to be the major cultural element of kampongs. Kampongs are remembered or imagined as native fishing and agricultural villages where people lived self-sufficient life. Singaporeans often coin the term kampong spirit, which popularly means spirit of generosity and care, to engage with various forms of food sharing activities, such as growing food together, sharing household spaces, cooking and eating with neighbors. As you can see on some of the examples from the national press, kampong spirit plays a symbolic role in the organization of many food sharing activities in Singapore, both as a motivational trigger for businesses and non-for-profit sector to involve general public in charitable causes, and for citizens to start their own food sharing initiatives, such as community gardens and community fridges. Not only kampong spirit, but also state-led imaginaries such as City in a Garden and Smart Nation that have emerged in the process of the nation building are shaping urban food futures through policy documents and top-down interventions such as Garden by the Bay that are targeting green, clean and technologically advanced country with agro-food industries and corporations as key players in food systems. While a big part of my ethnographic research was focused on food sharing in relation to food production in Singapore. Many of you might know that Singapore is the most food secure country. However, more than 90% of its food is imported, which is a huge problem, especially in situations like the one we have been experiencing with COVID-19, where food transports from Malaysia, the major exporter of food to Singapore, have been disrupted. So the state has been investing in Agriculture 4.0 to address food security issues, but citizens feel often excluded from participation in food growing. So the fieldwork has shown that there is a growing number of agricultural enthusiasts and gardeners who want to challenge the land scarce and technology-driven narrative that Singapore has. An example includes the Citizen Farm, a social enterprise and a shared space for citizens interested in growing food and supporting local farmers. After a period of trial and error and finding their own style and identity, the group has launched food boxes with locally produced vegetables. Other activities include teaching and building gardens in underutilized spaces, such as rooftops. And it is due to these efforts that small parcels of public and private land in Singapore are able to be converted into permaculture gardens and food forests, and to engage citizens whose interests go beyond just boosting local food production to also include nature care practices. In fact, the habitat fragmentation in Singapore has posed a grave threat to many of the indigenous flora and its cultural meanings and medicinal values. These photos of indigenous plants have been taken during the fieldwork while visiting gardening sites. And participants to shared food growing initiatives such as Citizen Farm and Foodscape Collective in Singapore are not only producing food, but they are also concerned about longevity of native plants and natural heritage by promoting activities such as sharing of seeds and plant cuttings and working with elders on preserving traditional plants recipes. An important aspect of making that food knowledge available to others is ICT. Shared food growing initiatives such as Foodscape Collective use, for example, simple mapping technologies such as Google Maps to connect people in Singapore who are interested in local foodscapes. This map of edibles that you can see is a form of a communication platform for all those people who are interested in local foods, from healthy eating, culinary tradition, composting, and for people to forge collaboration, share food-related spaces and skills. Now, besides food growing, in the recent years, citizens also became concerned about food waste problem in Singapore. Food waste grew by 40% between 2009 and 2019. And in response, the government introduced a policy goal to become a zero-waste nation by 2030, and 2019 was assigned as a year towards zero waste. However, participation in food waste management has been limited primarily to industry, with the emphasis on maximizing energy recovery from waste. Furthermore, the city-state does not have a Good Samaritan law to encourage the donation of food to non-profit organizations, and there is no official definition of or statistic on food insecurity provided by the government. However, despite the limitation, there is a broadening landscape of citizens-led food redistribution initiatives emerging. One of my case studies included Citizens Food Rescue Group that emerged in 2017 as a result of dumpster diving activities with a mission to rescue and redistribute unwanted food to whoever is willing to consume it. In 2018, the group claimed to save between 2 to 3 tons of fresh produce every week, despite operating without transportation and cold storage. The group does not own its own equipment. As you can see, trolley and boxes, which are used to move surplus from bins and food stalls to the collection points, are shared with food vendors, for example, at the markets. As such, the group makes use of shared resources to build an adaptable infrastructure. And by doing so, it relies on personal network and the kindness of strangers to maintain its operations. About the group is that through food sharing, the group makes visible the messiness of food waste management practices despite the cleanliness culture of the garden city. During the participatory moments that the group provides, such as rummaging through bins, feeling dirtiness on the skin from dumpster diving, and encountering others such as street cleaners, migrant workers, participation nurtures new experiences that cross many cultural, legal, moral, and material boundaries. Furthermore, food rescue gatherings place the emphasis on edibility, as participants perform a look, smell, taste test to save food that normally would have been wasted because of bruises and irregular shapes. And 90% of that food that is rescued through food sharing points and food sharing gatherings is redistributed to citizens through a network of community fridges and food sharing points. As you can see, here are the 2 fridges. The one on the left is a fridge for all kinds of food, And the fridge on the right side is a fridge where only halal food can go for the halal and Muslim communities. And it's also that the group stresses the importance of connectivity between people and places with a focus on ICT as an important technology enabling participation in food waste management. For example, ICT is crucial when it comes to organization and mobilization of resources across diverse food rescue spaces and food waste streams. The fieldwork shows that the use of ICT to participate in food waste reduction signals the changing phase of participation in public matters, in environmental and social matters in Singapore, as it allows citizens to self regulate their engagement in collective actions in a way that overcomes long standing restrictions on civic associational life, such as freedom of assembly. And although various governmental agencies have recently involved food sharing initiatives in a dialogue about food waste reduction and local food production, their presence still remains on the fringe of policy making. However, various food sharing actions around growing, saving food from waste, and eating together have an effect on community self-organizing around food-related projects, which allow citizens to feel autonomy in a capacity for an individual and community to make a change. And it is that feeling of autonomy that brings Singapore closer to sustainable and democratic food futures. This is the end of my presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.